Hey, welcome to the Lead Up Podcast. Mike Harbour, your host and publisher. Really excited that you're joining us again today. Look, this is a great conversation on leadership and technology and how technology is going to impact us in our recruitment and how we can lead more effectively our teams, whether they're on site or even globally. I've got a guest with me today, Joel Sylvester. He's the partner, chief client officer for 5-star call centers. So he's got teams literally all over the country and the world that they're leading, and they're using technology to do that. We're going to learn a little bit about his business today, but I want you to buckle up, grab you a pen and some paper, take some notes. Joel's got a lot of great information and advice for us today. So I want to make sure you get the most out of this podcast. Joel, welcome to the Lead Up Podcast.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. Looking forward to chatting today.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. Hey, Joel and I met up in South Dakota, which is where I'm assuming that's where you're at today, Joel. I didn't ask before we got in the green room. I'm in Arkansas. We're experiencing South Dakota weather today here. So it just reminds me, that's why I don't live up there where you're at, even though it's beautiful, man. But
It keeps the riffraff out. We always say it keeps the riffraff out, Mike. So
I'm sure it does. It definitely will keep me out for sure. Talk to us a little bit about 5-star call centers and your business and your background a little bit before we jump into real conversation.
sure. Yeah. Well, I'm excited today, Mike, because again, for the partners that you work with and I've had a chance to read your book and share it with my teams. And I just think there's so many synergies. I've been doing this a long time, 30 years, and managing people today is a lot different than it was 30 years ago. Maybe some for the good, some for the bad, but there's also so many amazing tools today that exist. And I'm in the contact center space, but quite honestly, building teams, building culture, hiring, training, recruiting, development, I think is the same. The advantage I have in the contact center is every one of my interactions is recorded, and we can monitor it and we can learn from it. And it's very repeatable. So a lot of times I always say that a contact center is kind of like a petri dish. You can do experiments with things and see what works and what doesn't. And it can be a much more controlled environment than maybe some industries that are out there, right? In a hospital, training nurses, you're training, doctors, you're training all kinds of different, types of people. There's a lot more variables. But I really do believe some of the technology, I think sometimes AI and technology gets a bad rap and people are scared of it. But I think the more you understand it, the more you can understand that, man, this can be a really great thing for my team members and for my customers.
Yeah, look, I recommend AI a lot. I use AI every day. I'll take the conversation we have today and use some AI tools on it, right? To transcribe it, number one, so I don't have to sit and type it up, which is the old fashioned way. And then we pull clips out of it, pull quotes out of it, using AI technology to do that. I recommend AI to my clients when they're having one-on-one conversations around leadership and they want to have record of that. So, they're not having to sit and try to write all that down. There's a lot of tools that we can use to help us become better leaders, right? Listen to that conversation again and say, what did I say? Well, where did I step on somebody's toes a little bit? What can I do differently next time as well? Talk to us about, you and I talked about this a little bit when we met in South Dakota. I help companies learn to attract people, recruit better, land people, create cultures where people want to stay, right? Where are you seeing AI help you and other companies do a better job in recruitment and finding talent and get the right people that are good fits, not just kind of warm bodies or resumes, but right fits for their companies?
Yeah, Mike, it's really threefold. So one, starting with that resume, right? Anymore, everyone applies online. And two things that we're using AI for in the application process is people that have a resume can just download it and the AI can turn that into an application. Nothing is more frustrating than asking a person to download their resume and then go into an application and list everything that's in the resume, right?
Right.
So
Right.
so that and it works the other way too, that if someone doesn't have a custom resume, we work with people that are maybe in more of a trade or a truck drivers, welders, things like that. It can take an application process and they can do it by a voice mic. So a truck driver could call in, The AI could ask them the question, they could answer it, and that could turn it into a resume for them. So they are on an even playing field, with maybe someone who has, a little bit more access to computers and things like that. In the ag industry, it's absolutely huge. So that's a way to separate yourself. So you can look at your application process and say, how accessible is this, especially if I'm in more of a service-based, less professional, type piece of it. Then, like in the contact center world for us, someone applies for a job Friday night at 7 o'clock. They had a bad week, right? They're ready for a career change. They apply for a job 7 o'clock on Friday night. In the old days, 5 years ago, that person probably didn't get a reach back from a recruiter till like Tuesday because it was the weekend and then Monday happened and then Tuesday. And by the time they got an interview set up, it was maybe later in the week. And then by the time they had a second interview, you might be talking 3 or 4 weeks to get down that process. So what we utilize today is someone who applies online, whether it's uploading a resume or whether it's doing a voice resume or whether it's answering fields in an application. They immediately, our AI scrubs it and immediately tells them, Mike, this is a great fit for you. We're excited to take you to the next level. Or maybe it's not. If it's not, then I'm not wasting your time. I can keep you on file for potential other opportunities. And then when I do have an opportunity that comes up, I can reach out to you. But you are left with a good taste in your mouth about my organization. If I think it's a good fit, I invite you to do an avatar interview whenever you want. You can do it Friday night, you can do it Saturday, you can do it Sunday. So you can make sure that, you do your hair. It's not a big problem for me, but, you can make sure that you get ready, research the company a little bit, and you do that interview. It can be the CEO of the company, giving a quick intro of why you might be interested in working for five-star call centers or whatever the organization is. And then you start that piece of the process. It's recorded and it is graded, and there are follow-up questions. And then that way, if you're not a fit, you know immediately and you can go look for something else. You haven't wasted your time. If you are a fit, that recorded, scored interview is given to a manager, and then the manager schedules a time to talk to you. And then that conversation with the manager is much more personable because I'm not saying, okay, Mike, where were you from January of 2016? All that stuff's answered. And I can get into it and be like, hey, Mike, I saw your interview. I saw you were really passionate about customer service. Tell me a little bit more about that. And so we've seen a 70% decrease in time to hire. So from the time someone applies to the time they start, 70% a decrease in time, which is huge, right? If we're understaffed, that person knows. So we've had that piece of it's been huge. In addition, you're getting the right person. What's great then too, if I'm a trainer and I'm training a class of 15 people, I can watch all of those videos beforehand, so I know exactly what I'm training. And I know, man, Mike is he's personable. He can handle any question, but technically he might need a little bit of more technical type training because he's stepping into something new. And then vice versa, Joel might know the technical piece of it, but he needs to learn some of the other stuff. So we can actually customize training. And about 70% of our training now, up to about 80% of our training is done self-paced with an avatar. In the old days, 5 years ago, you got the same training as I got, right? And some of it was boring to you. Some of it was over my head. You maybe got 7 days and I got 7 days. I maybe needed 10 and you needed 5. And you would have been spending those last 2 days of training when you're already, ready to go do the job, maybe not being the most productive and maybe getting in a little trouble. And I might not have been ready after 5 or 7 days to go on the phone, and I needed to do a few more things. So just think about the culture you and I have talked about and building those teams. If you're starting with an interview and a hire process and a training process like that, foundationally, you are just built on absolute, a rock solid foundation, which is, a good step in the right direction.
Yeah, that's good. When I need a haircut like I do right now, Joel, I envy your hair, 'cause it takes a lot of time to get it to look okay, so I envy your hair right now, but I know when it's cold outside, you probably envy mine, right? You gotta put the skull cap on to keep your head warm. Talk to me about where uh, your technology, where you're getting it from. Is it a self-built AI that you're using to create these questions and for people to answer, or is it a tool that is on the marketplace for other people?
Yeah, so I would say all of the above. So we have built some things within 5 star with that hadn't been met, but we work with Spark Hire is a great one that you can demo. Level AI is one that you can demo. Achilles is one that's really good in that more industrial type space, agricultural and transportation. Jazz HR is another. So those are four that we work with. But we've also built some, I mean, Zoom, you can build this within Zoom, to be honest with you. I mean, this call is being recorded and being transcribed, and they're a digital agent. So it really depends on the organization and how tech forward they are, how integrated they are with one system. From that end of it, there's absolutely off the shelf ones, like I mentioned. Or if you're an AWS shop or a Google shop or a Zoom shop, I'm your tech guys with the prompting that's available right now with Zoom could probably build you something that gets you off the ground in a couple of days. And then really where the magic is when you start using it, deciding what you want to do. You can make that avatar that interviews look like the CEO or look like me, or you can have it look like truly a made up avatar. That's what's interesting. Sometimes we have a made up person like an Alexa or a Siri. Melody Note is one that we do with a music company. And then we'll literally have customers say, or team members say, I talked to Melody. They know Melody is an AI, but it's so realistic and this is their life. They're getting a good job and whatever. So those are some of the things that are out there. But if whatever your organization is most integrated with is a really good one. And I'm sure you'll have my contact information here, Mike. If folks are interested, usually within a couple of me asking a couple of questions of what they're looking at, I can head them in the right direction. Our team does some of the development, but for the most part, most groups are able to do most of the development on their own.
So are you using it? I guess it sounds like you're using AI technology for some of your pre-screening before they actually have a contact with a human. They make it through that pre-screening resume, pre-screening, maybe that initial interview. You've got that AI equipped to scrub against requirements, values, culture. What are you scrubbing against to see if they've made it through the non-human contact before they make it to the human contact? What are you scrubbing against, and how do you build that to do that for you?
Yeah, so one, a lot of times speech proficiency is a big piece of it, right? I have centers in Guatemala and the Philippines, and even in the US, you're from Arkansas, you do pretty well, but there's some
Huh,
people from
huh, huh.
Arkansas have a difficult time understanding.
Yeah.
So there's that piece of it. But then a lot of times it's in the question, it's a technical question. So if we're hiring a someone that's going to work on a pharmaceutical account, we might ask them, what's your knowledge of AstraZeneca, right? Or just saying some word and whatever, and then reading in that, and then they do get a proficiency score. And believe it or not, Mike, I know you have kids, but it reads their confidence score based on if their eyes are darting all over the place, whether they're telling the truth or not. I have a 17-year-old daughter. I always say I need this technology when she gets home on a Friday night to be able to tell me what level of accuracy she is. So there's twofold. One, you can put specific questions in there about their technical background. So if I'm asking somebody, do you have experience working with patients, Medicare, Medicaid Advantage patients? If they say no, boy, that's probably for some of my programs that might not, necessarily be a fit. If they say yes, then the avatar asks them, can you give me an example of what that is? And if they say, I spent 10 years, I did this insurance program, I was on the provider side, I was on the carrier side, versus someone else that says, I know the basics. They're each going to
Mhm.
get a score. And then if you're the hiring manager, you look at what you have for scores. If someone scored overall a 90 and someone scored overall a 70, you're going to start with that 90 person.
Mhm.
And then if your class gets full and you fill up your team with those 90s, then you never get down to the 70s. So it's kind of a rank order type system, and you can 100% customize that to what's the most important. We do some retail sales. And so we'll ask, what's your key to overcoming objections? If it takes them 3 or 4 minutes to come up with how to overcome an objective, it's probably not a good fit for them. But that's the other thing that's so great, Mike, because that way this person might not be a fit for that job, and we're not spoiling them on our organization. They're not coming in, they're not taking training resources, they're not getting frustrated, they're not slowing down the class, where they might be a great fit for a different account of ours. One of the things that I think is a very important skill for us is the ability to get yelled at and not yell back. And I'm still working on that. But we have some people that aren't salespeople, they're not technical people, but they just have that empathy and they can kind of take the heat. And that can be great. And we actually test for that in the you can have the avatar, you can do a simulation with them that's kind of an upset customer and see how they react. Do they and then the customer can kind of you can really get a you could build a true jerk if you want to,
Mm.
and kind of see how the person reacts to that. We usually save most of that for training
Mm.
versus the actual interview, but we kind of, pepper it in there along the path.
That's cool. I like it. Let's transition to the leadership side of it. So I love that helping companies um, hire quicker. Get through because again, interviewing takes a lot of resources, right? When it's human to human, but it's also I think what I want to make sure our listeners hear is it's also speeds things up as well, and maybe we don't lose candidates that would be good fits because there's a delay in us responding because we're too busy because we've got 50 other people that we're talking to. And so it gets them maybe into the pipeline a little bit faster than normal. You can
Just
also,
before we move on to it gets people excited to work there because, we have people that come on that are way more excited because they didn't, get drugged through the process. They didn't get ignored. They didn't feel bad about it. And then, the other thing I will tell you is if your organization is not using some of these resources, you're probably falling behind. Because even we're working with multiple states, like the state of South Dakota or Department of Labor now has that on the website to be able to do things. So within the next 12 to 24 months, this is, I would, in my estimation, I think about a third of organizations are using this today. And I believe in the next year or two, everyone's going to be using it. So if you're not, you're definitely putting yourself in I believe, a competitive disadvantage.
yeah, yeah, I think you're right. We got to come along with AI and technologies if we're going to keep pace with other people for sure. Talk about leadership. You've mentioned using AI to help you lead and coach people more effectively, and maybe coach what I term it coach up. How are we coaching people up versus leaving them where they are?
Yeah, this is probably the most exciting piece. So back when I started at the contact center, people used to get recorded on a tape. You're old enough to remember what a cassette tape is. Some people listening to this might not, but they used to get recorded on the tape. And then at the end of their shift, they would throw it. I had a big like basket on my desk and they would throw it in there. And then I'm a runner. So I would go running and I'd put my Walkman on with the little foam earbuds, or I'd listen to it in my tape deck in my Buick Park Avenue. And that was how we did quality scoring, right? So it was a very random process. Maybe by the time I got around to listening to the tape, it was Friday and you'd made an error on Monday. So I come to him like, hey, Mike, remember Monday at noon? And you're like, no, I don't remember today at noon, and so it was so hard to coach where today, within a contact center, but even this interaction is being, recorded. Pretty much if you're on Microsoft Teams or if you're on Zoom or if you're on Amazon Connect, or you're on a Cisco system, all of these things are available. Maybe not quite real time, but pretty close. And they can monitor everything from speech analytics, sentiment. So if a customer's upset or if a team member's upset, engaged, whether they're, engaged and active or whether they're delayed, if they're trying to play a video game on the side, or if they're distracted by something, all the way up to keywords that might be said. Obviously, swear words is something that we're watching for, but within a hospital, maybe a keyword that might be, important would be heart rate, or would be blood sugar, or would be, God, goodness forbid, MRSA, or, something like those types of things. And you can look and really over the course of a day understand exactly what's going on with your organization And maybe everyone's talking about one particular thing. You need to train on that. Or we've had customers that every sale, something came up, and then the marketing team can go create a new product or can change their marketing. And what I'm most excited from a team member standpoint is throughout the course of the day, we have through gamifications, it really looks like a speedometer, like you're driving down the road and there's a speedometer and a tachometer, and I can see how the customer's doing. So is the customer engaged? Is the customer upset? And they're going to ebb and flow, right? To being
Mhm.
disengaged or bored to being upset. I want them right in that green, right? Just a happy customer listening and engaged. And the team member is the same way. I want that team member right there. And if the customer starts to get upset, the team member can see that and can actually, we has been trained to say, hey, Mike, I know this can be frustrating, but I'm going to get this solved for you. And then in Mike's tone, I can see you're going back into the green. Hey, Mike, I know this is frustrating, but as we work through this, let's just try to solve one thing at a time, right? And then you get some of those things. And at the end of the day, I actually had a team member. So you get a score at the end of your shift. You're like, Mike, congratulations. You were at 93% today and your customers were at 90% today. Or today you were at 93, your customers were only at 87 trying to work at this. I had a team member tell me that when she gets done with their shift, she works at home. Her kids ask her, hey, mom, what was your percentage today?
Mm,
Like, how cool is that?
yeah,
Right. And then she
yeah.
can tell the story and whatever. But I truly believe I can tell when a team member is going to quit. Your book is Quit Losing Talent. I believe I know a team member is going to quit before they do because I can tell they're a little bit less engaged. They're a little bit more upset. And so think about the steps that I can take to actively, proactively step in and be like, hey, Mike, you got a minute? How was your morning? And hopefully you're honest with me and say, not very good, Joel. And then we can talk about what it might take and whatever. Or you might lie to me and be like, it was fine as you're looking, for another job on the other screen.
Mm.
And I can be like, well, Mike, it looks like, this wasn't great. So how about we get you into this training? Or how about that wasn't great? Or how about we get you into this training? Maybe it's time for you to switch into a different account or a different role. The other thing that I'm super excited about is we're starting to adjust shifts based on people's performance, right?
Mm.
I'm a morning person, right? My day starts at 4 a.m. By 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm wiped out, right?
Mhm.
But my wife, she's a night owl. Don't talk to her before noon, right? So in the old days, everybody just worked 8 to 5 and you took your break, after 2 hours and then you took your lunch. We're starting to adjust it to where, you know what, Mike, you really do great in the morning. Would you be interested in working on a 7 to 3 instead of or whatever? You know what, Mike, you start the day awesome. You take a break at 10 a.m. It doesn't look like you need one. Would you like to maybe not take your first break till 11? And then in the afternoon, you seem to be a little sluggish. How about we give you a break every hour and 15 minutes in the afternoon? So you can have that long term, but then real time, it might be a situation where the technology tells me Mike needs a break and we can put you into break. Or it might be the opposite where it's like Mike is killing it right now. His sales success is great. His customers are loving it. I might send you a note and be like, hey, Mike, if you don't need to take a break, for a bio break or you don't have something going on at 10, are you good? Just stay in. And most of the time you're like, yeah, I'm rocking and rolling. Let's go. And so the think we couldn't do that 10 years ago or
That's
15
incredible.
years ago or even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And so you think about how long you've been managing people and how everyone on this call has been managing people. Think about how powerful that is. And again, you still have the human, you still need the human, but you can just make that human so much better by using the technology that exists.
Yeah, you just made me think, all these wearables. I have an Aura ring, right? I've got a smartwatch. It's telling me how I'm doing, how I slept, how my heart, my HR, I'm monitoring my HRV every day, right? My sleep time and all of those kinds of things. But what you're saying is it's almost like having a wearable on our employees to kind of, how are they doing? Checking their well-being and manage them more effectively. It ties in really good to, a concept I talk about, the sapere videre, right? Learning how to see, like just peer into the hearts and minds and emotions of our employees and lead them more effectively. I hadn't thought about it from that perspective, Joel, but that's really cool. We're
There are actually contact centers that are giving incentives to team members to open up their wearables to them. So giving them access to that piece of it. If they say, hey, we'll pay you an extra, buck an hour to do it, and then we can kind of understand what that is. So that is coming, Mike. That's very perceptive of you, but that is coming, and I truly believe that. And is it Big Brother? Yes. But do I care if Big Brother is out there as long as they're trying to help me, from that end of it? But I would say that is going to be a little bit of a difficult pill to swallow for some people, but that's absolutely starting to happen. And I believe if my wearable tells me, Joel, you're too fired up, time to take a break, and I don't lose a sale, or I don't upset a customer, or I just have a better day, right? At the end of the
yeah,
day, I'm not, because you've had that bad conversation. How long does it stick with you? Right. And yeah, there's some of those things that is definitely on the horizon.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting how technology has changed. I just think about, my dad is 79 years old, and the things he's seen in his life, right? I mean, he had an outdoor toilet when he was a kid, right? So now the technology that we have is so incredible, and I'm using AI more and more. We're creating some things in my business that you'd have to pay tens of thousands of dollars to create, like graphic artist type stuff, man. I can take this transcript after we're done and feed it into an AI system and have it create an infographic based on what we talked about, right? Or create a transcript or a slide deck on these types of things, and do it in a matter of seconds, really, not even minutes, right? Where before because I'm not creative, I gotta pay a graphic art. This thing you see behind me I paid somebody to put that on my wall, right? I call it my fat head. It's just a big sticker on my wall with some action words and my values. But how have you seen systems survive chaos? Because there comes chaos, right? There's lots of chaos in the world. Talk to us about that, and what leaders and organizations should be aware of.
Yeah, we did not rehearse this, but that was a perfect lead in. So if you think about when you got the fat head, the wall behind you, put in, once it's painted, it's expensive to change, right? Where when a person, if you're utilizing some of the technology to do it, if that comes out and you're like, I don't quite love that, but it was AI generated, you just put a new prompt in that and say, make it a little bit more professional, or make it a little bit more personable, or make it Arkansas colors, or, whatever, kind of it seems to be missing from the end of it. But where I am really seeing people being able to go to the next level to have systems survive chaos is, in the old days, 5 years ago, if you were going to do an SOP or a knowledge base or an LLM, a learned language model, you had to hire a team of people. It's exactly what you just said, to be able to do it. Now, if an organization does not have standard operating procedures, does not have a knowledge base, or doesn't have the beginning of an LLM or an SLM, there is no reason not to utilize AI to do that. If you're a Microsoft shop and you have SharePoint using Copilot with prompts, you can have one person do 50 to 60 SOPs per day.
Yeah,
Without the technology, you're lucky to get one.
that's right.
And so if you're an organization that just doesn't feel as if you have the SOPs that you need, or the knowledge base that you need, now is the time to say, we have access to build this. If you're a Google shop, use Gemini. If you're a Zoom shop, use Zoom. If you're a Microsoft shop, use Copilot. They exist out there, and they are wonderful. And literally, if you just say, we need an SOP on this, we need an SOP on this, we need an SOP on this, and you start the prompts and you start building it, then you put systems in place to where if chaos hits, all of a sudden you have a record sales quarter and your call volume triples, you need to train a bunch of people. Look at everything I just talked about. You can hire people that much quicker, you can train them that much quicker, and then they can come in as with SOPs and knowledge bases that literally just got pushed to the back burner in the past because if you have someone that can write all your SOPs, they're too valuable, right?
Yeah.
They're probably your best manager, or your best trainer, or your best employee. So you're not going to take them out of production to do this. Where now you have the access to that to be able to put something like that into place. The other thing too that I'm really passionate about and that we're seeing is the ability to close the gap for generations, for maybe people with different abilities and maybe people with different education.
Mhm.
There are people that come in that maybe don't have a college degree that can catch up so much more quickly because all of the training and all of the agent assist and all the things like that that exist for them. People with disabilities, maybe a hearing disability, a visual disability, maybe they're, in a wheelchair, maybe they have they're on the spectrum. All of the things we talked about to be able to monitor conversations, to be able to train differently, to be able to hire differently. As you look at the US population, right? We're
Mhm.
not getting any younger. Unfortunately, we're not getting any healthier. And we just have more people that want to be part of the workforce. And all of these tools really make that possible, which just builds your culture even stronger, builds your diversity even stronger. So some of those things are really exciting as well. And in today's world of pretty much everybody being understaffed, think about if you can use some of these technologies to increase your productivity by 20%. So you're 20% understaffed. Not really. You just need to implement these things and then you're staffed the way you need to be.
Yeah, it's really good. I'm excited about what I see in the AI arena. Just being a small business like I am, it helps me up level, upskill without the expense of a new employee. And you've talked about. I just love some of the ideas you've shared for our listeners is how they can use AI to help create a stay culture. Finding out things about people before they leave. Right. We talk about retention a lot. Using AI as a retention tool to help you learn things about your employees before they come in and turn the resignation in. Now we're begging them to stay. Right. So I love that using it to help you screen and pre-screen people before you lose them to somebody else and move them through the pipeline faster. Using it to coach them. You've had a lot of things that I talk about here, Joel. As we land the plane here, where do you see AI going in the next 12 months that our listeners should probably be aware of and be thinking about before it's too late?
Yeah, so I think you would need to go on a journey back a little bit. I mean, really, ChatGPT is only 3 years old, right? I mean, it seems like we've been talking about it forever, but only 3 years old. I believe a lot of organizations have been doing things, whether it's machine learning or whether it is, agentic AI or general, artificial intelligence. So we've been moving along this path. I think the first year was a lesson learned. There was a lot of hallucinations. A lot of people weren't using it the right way and things like that. So I think now people have a little bit better understanding of what it can do, and maybe more importantly, what it can't do. And I think what I'm seeing more and more customers ask, and even more people ask, is why not? Like, why can't I do this? And sometimes that's where like old guys like you and me need to say, what haven't I done because I know too much. I know that it's hard to do this, or I know that I can't do this. And so I just really challenge people that, what is your dream scenario? And the truth of the matter is there should be no dream too big anymore because I go to customers, I'm like, what if you could triple your sales? In the old days, you wouldn't have been able to handle the volume. Now you can because we might use a digital agent to handle the easy stuff, and we might, be able to train faster and hire faster and things like that. So I really think the next year or two, the dreamers are going to win. And I will tell you, I'm from South Dakota, one of the most conservative places in the world. I grew up on a farm in a town of 330 people. So I am so grounded that I have to force myself to dream big. And if you happen to be a dreamer out there, you are a step ahead of where you were probably 10 years ago. You would have gotten beat up by people like Mike and I saying that's impossible, or just, do your job. Where now I think you're going to really see those dreamers are going to start to really be able to get some of the big things done that they wouldn't have been able to get done in the past.
Yeah. Look, I agree with you, and I believe AI can help small businesses like me uh, do things that big businesses have always been doing, and that where a small guy couldn't get in, right? And but I believe also big businesses can scale a lot faster and do things a lot faster for basically zero cost of hiring people to do some of these things and hoping that you get some of the results that you're really after. So, yeah, there's a huge opportunity before us. I'm definitely still in, you know, infant stage when it comes to learning how to use the technology that's in front of us. And I've learned a lot from you today, Joel. Just like you've made me think bigger about some of the things I could probably be thinking about with my own customers that I'm working with to help them, interview better and select better and hire better and all of those kinds of things that we're trying to help them do. So thank you for being a great guest on the Lead Up Podcast, man, and just bringing some new awareness to us. Tell the audience where they can learn more about you, find out more about your business, and maybe connect with you.
Great, I appreciate it, Mike. And again, as I was reading your book, after we met, a lot of this really, rang true to how I grew up in business, and then how things have evolved and continue to evolve. And you said you feel like you're in the infancy phase. I still think I am too, to be honest with you. But I do think that's part of the exciting part about it. So,
Mhm.
yeah, so I'm Joel Sylvester on LinkedIn. You can find me Joel Sylvester at fivestarcallcenters.com. And we'll get some links attached to this from the end of it. I will also tell you we should probably, Mike, maybe at the end of the year connect again, because that's how fast this stuff is changing.
Yeah.
Right. Like if I would have talked to you last January, it would have been a whole different conversation, right? It would have just been, I'm hoping to do some of this stuff and things like that. So if you think of how long things used to take, 6 months, 6 months is probably like dog years. We talk about dog years,
Mm.
6 months is probably more like 7 years from the end of it. So maybe we should reconnect. I go to a lot of conferences throughout the course of the year. I'm going to Enterprise Connect in Vegas here in March. So I'll see the latest and greatest. And then I go to Customer Service Week in Vegas in June. And then I go to the Amazon conference in December. So literally that's how quickly things are moving. About every quarter, it seems like there's a 2.0, a 3.0, a 4.0. So yeah, but fivestarcallcenters.com is where you can find me. I share a lot of information, a lot of weekly blog stuff out there. And happy to help anyone that has questions and wants to continue down the path.
Yeah, appreciate it, Joel. We'll make sure we get Joel's links in the show notes. So if you're listening on your podcast platform, check out our show notes there. If you're watching on YouTube, check that out in the notes on YouTube as well. Joel, thanks for joining me today on Lead Up Podcast. It was a pleasure having you.
Appreciate it, Mike.